Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Tony Wolf, for another episode of NWA Powerrr in Review. Tonight is October the 29th, 2019. My God, NWA, you all keep doing what you're doing. For the fourth straight week, NWA Powerrr has reminded me of why pro wrestling needed an enema. They needed something to shake it up. And NWA Powerrr is doing that every week on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media sites. William Corgan, Dave Lagana, I don't care what you all have to do, keep doing what you're doing. With Jim Cornette and Joe Gilly, Dave Marquez, the whole team that you have, you guys are knocking it out of the park. Now, on to the first match. Actually, it started out with James Storm coming out and asking why Nick Aldous, the NWA World Champion, has been avoiding him. He is the national champion. He wants a shot at the world title, but it appears that nobody wants to give him that opportunity. He's been a world champion before in another federation. He's been around the world for 20 years or better. He deserves another shot at a world title, and that NWA title would look real good around his waist. So Nick Aldous comes, Eli Drake comes out and starts stirring the pot, coming up with different ideas, doing his normal Eli Drake shtick, which is not a problem. Then out comes Colt Boom Boom Cabana. Then out comes Nick Aldous. Sets up a main event, six-man tag. If Team James Storm wins, James gets a world title shot, but he has to give up the national title. But if Nick Aldous wins, Colt Boom Boom Cabana gets his rematch for the national title that he never lost. So that set up a main event for the ages. That was going to be a solid match. Then out came Trevor Murdoch. We haven't seen Trevor Murdoch a lot in the past 5-6 years, but after leaving up north, I'll just say that way, he got out of wrestling. He gave it up. He decided he didn't have a passion for it. Now that the NWA is back, he's got that passion. And what happens? He comes out telling that he is going to show why he came back to wrestling, and out comes old Goofy Josephus talking about his spiritual advisor. And next thing you know, Josephus and Trevor Murdoch have a big match. Murdoch washes the floor with him. Josephus gets some good offense, does some really good stuff, but you can see they're building Josephus to go back to being the cult following whatever of his spiritual advisor. Then after that, then we had to put up with old Aaron Stevens. And everybody knows Aaron Stevens is a actor since he got out of wrestling. And he doesn't like to be looked in the eyes. So he's out there running his mouth. And out comes the newcomer, Ricky Starks, came out, and they try to play a little bit of mind games back and forth. And of course, Stevens makes his comments, and Starks hauls off and knocks the snot out of him and tells him, I want a match. So later, they set up the match for later in the night. And, of course, Aaron Stevens staggering around, falling behind Jim Cornette, doing his false shtick that he always does and sells like a maniac. If nothing else, he is truly an actor's wrestler. Then they go into talking about the feud between the Dawson brothers, Eddie Kingston and Homicide, and the tag team champions. So we've got a Falls Count Anywhere match between the Dawsons and Kingston and Homicide. Match goes everywhere. Dawsons, of course, go get the chairs. Homicide ends up with a hand that looks like he slapped Andre the Giant about 4 or 5 times. It's getting all swollen up. And the match is going on. They're using the chairs. No real hardcore weapons, tables, none of that stuff. It's just chairs. Old school stuff. Then, of course, the tag team champions interfere, letting the Dawsons win. The matches are getting better between these 3 teams, and I can see that they're going to build to one hell of a blow-off between these 3 teams. Of course, we get our commercials for different goofy stuff that they've been putting on, which I wish they would not be doing that. If they're going to promote the show as a legit TV tapings, they need to be putting legit sponsors in there at some point. So the tag team champions run off. They start promoting the question mark, the unknown wrestler from Markovia that has a giant question mark on his head, or on his mask. And so they talk about that for a bit. Then we have Vox, and Alison Kay comes out to the announcer's table and tells them both, hey, I've beat both of you, so both of you got to show me something. The winner gets another shot at the title. And, of course, Vox ends up winning, but it's a good, solid match. Both girls put a lot of effort and a lot of intensity into what they were doing. Ashley Vox was her name. And after the match, after Ashley has left, Thunder Rosa. And if you guys have never seen Thunder Rosa work, she's a Latin sensation with her tag team partner. They are a formidable women's tag team, but each one of them are formidable as singles wrestlers as well. So everybody keep an eye out for Thunder Rosa, because I think that's going to be an interesting addition to the NWA Powerrr roster. Then we have the match that was made earlier in the evening, Aaron Stevens versus Ricky Starks. So then we have Ricky Starks versus Aaron Stevens in a grudge match, basically. And the match went well. Starks gave Stevens a good, solid first match between the two of them. They both showed their strong points. They both showed a little bit of weak points, but it was a good, solid match. The crowd was into it. And it ended up with Starks winning via pinfall. Then we had the main event, the 6-man tag that they set up at the beginning of the show. Then you've got 6 seasoned veterans in this match, and all 6 of them showed why they are the money makers for the NWA. They showed why 5 out of the 6 are carrying titles at this point, and why 1 is a former champion. And of course, it was brutal with Storm and Tom and his partner. I can never remember the name of the tag team. And then you got Nick Aldous, Boom Boom Cabana, and Mr. Kennedy on the other side. And it was a good, hard-fought match. The crowd was into it the entire way. They were selling like maniacs. They were doing exactly what an old-school TV taping would have done, building to the pay-per-view that isn't every week or every 3 weeks. They've got a pay-per-view in December, on December the 14th, I believe it is, in Atlanta, GA, at the arena that they are doing their TV tapings in. The pay-per-view is already sold out. The only place you're going to be able to see it is on Fight Network, or Fight TV. Only place you're going to be able to see it is on Fight TV. And then they will be doing 2 days of TV. So if you're in the Atlanta area, I know the last day, the 16th, they still had a few tickets left. The other 2 days of down there, they're already sold out. So that tells people the NWA is where they need to be. They've got a limited roster, but that limited roster is prime candidates. That's this week's review of NWA Powerrr. It's another great week, guys. If you're not watching NWA Powerrr, you need to. The NWA is the home of tradition. It's the home of legends. And remember, tradition is always number one, and respect is always number two. So y'all have a good night.